Yo, welcome back. Have you ever wondered why countries around the world get into so much drama? Is it because they're just flexing their power, strength, or is there a deeper reason? It all revolves around a concept that international relations experts call national interest. To understand the motivation of states, we first need to define them. According to researchers, a state is an independent territorial unit with its own government, people, cultural customs, beliefs, and organizations. In simpler terms, each state is a home with sovereignty, residence, and its own rules. And just like every person has a unique personality, academic schools of thought also have different vibes about the state. For the realist gang, they see the state as a solo player, only caring about itself and constantly grinding for power to survive. The liberal gang likes to team up, believing cooperation will have everyone level up. For the constructivist gang, they think states is spiritual, believing the state acts based on its identity and ideological system. And finally, the Marxist gang, they see the state as a tool of the boss and all actions are for the benefit of that boss. And the secret behind all the actions is the national interest. This interest is defined differently depending on the vibe of each school. First one is the realist gang. Security is everything. If you play strategy games, you'll immediately get this mindset. For realist, this world is like a game server with no rules. States have to compete to survive. Therefore, national interest is seen as national security, a matter of survival and ultimate concern. For them, sovereignty is the supreme buff system and interest is the final goal that cannot be abandoned. To achieve it, they use power as a weapon to exist and protect themselves. For example, think about the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022. Russia saw NATO's expansion as an enemy coming to its doorstep. To protect its home, Russia used military force. This is a clear example of realist thinking, where security and power are two true loves placed above international law. The second one is the liberal gang. Cooperation is the way. Unlike the previous team, the liberal gang thinks, hey, why bother going solo? Let's team up. For them, thanks to technology and globalization, the world is becoming flatter. So national interest isn't just security, it also includes prosperity, welfare, and the environment. Instead of using power to fight, they use democracy and free trade to connect and cooperate. They believe this interdependence will reduce the role of force and lead to everyone's progress. For example, the European Union is a clear example. Member countries agree to share part of their sovereignty to create a common playground. As a result, the national interest of each country didn't decrease but grew thanks to collective power. It's a total win-win. The third one is the constructivist gang. Identity-shaped interest. This team goes a bit deeper. They believe that national interest isn't something that naturally there. It's created from a country's identity and its social idea. To put it simply, how a state perceives itself determines its actions. A world without shared identity would be chaotic and more dangerous than a world without a government. A common identity is the foundation for states to understand each other, thereby forming a shared interest. For example, during the Cold War, America's identity as a capitalist superpower against communism made its interests focus on containing the Soviet Union. Conversely, the Soviet Union's self-positioning as the leader of the socialist camp meant its interest was to expand its influence in Eastern Europe. Identity is the key to understanding all the actions. And finally, there's the Marxist gang. Interest is for the class. Finally, we have the Marxist team. They see everything through the lens of social class. The term national interest sounds so lofty, but Marx points out the somewhat harsh truth. It's mainly the interest of the ruling class. Whoever is sitting in the chairman's seat will have their interest automatically elevated to national interest. The state here acts like a tool, simply executing the will of the dominant class. For them, every state activity is martialized from state policies and the state is an instrument of the ruling class. Therefore, the way to change interest is through class struggle. You could say that history would be boring without struggle, there'd be no drive to progress. The clearest example, the October Revolution in Russia in 1917. For the first time, workers and peasants took power. From then on, the national interest of the Soviet Union no longer revolved around colonies and profit, like the capitalist, but shifted to holding on to the achievement of the revolution, preventing imperialists from meddling, building socialism, make industrialization a matter of survival, meeting the basic needs of people with the slogan peace, land and bread. In short, stop fighting, had land to farm, and have food to eat. And the conclusion is national interest is the master. The rules of international play, national interest always holds the top spot. So whether it's like the warrior realist, the teamwork liberals, the ideology-driven constructivist, or the struggle-focused Marxist, they also that national interest is the compass for every state's actions. It is the fundamental motivation for all cooperation and conflict in the world. There are three main types of interests that every nation must care about. First one is security, preserving independence and sovereignty, not getting bullied. Development, a strong economy makes a strong nation. And finally, influence, having a voice, not just sitting on the sidelines. Among these, the supreme long-term and immutable interest of every nation is to protect its sovereignty, consolidate security, and ensure its existence. You can compromise on some secondary interests, but if you lose sovereignty, you lost the game. To fulfill their national interests, countries around the world have two major trends. First, strengthening their defense capability by modernizing their military and developing military science. But to be strong, you need money, otherwise it's just hot air. Second, focusing on economic development because the economy is both the foundation for security and the key to prosperity. Smaller, weakened countries often choose to ally with the strong to create a balance of power. Secondly, national interest is the core characteristic of a state. Stripped of all the fancy words, every foreign policy decision comes from one goal: preserving and protecting the national interest. It emerged with the formation of the state, linked to the basic needs: independence, security, territorial integrity, and economic prosperity. National interest is a guiding light. It helps the state know what to protect at all costs and what it can compromise on temporarily to achieve a balance. When interests align, cooperation is easy. When they clash, conflict is almost grand. Finally, national interest is the factor shaping the world stage. On a global scale, national interest doesn't just dictate domestic policy, it also shapes the entire international landscape. Depending on the context, a country might prioritize security, development, or expanding its influence. Hopefully, this video has helped you better understand the drama on the world stage. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions. Thank you for listening.